TaeKwonDo. My name is Mr. Roberts to some, and Grandmaster to some, and Sergeant to some. I'm also the founder of Roberts Karate, which was founded in the fall of 1964, and it's still going on at this time. And we have, just to bring that up to date, I'll just name you some places where our umbrella is still being taught. For instance, at Ohio we have David Hofstadler. Again, in Ohio we have Lee Hines. In Maryland we have Jim Roberts Jr. In Virginia we have Ron Jenkins. In Virginia we have Barry Brown. So all these black belts, all these instructors, all come under the Roberts School of Karate umbrella. So this is an ongoing teaching that's been going on since 1964. Even though I had a break in 67, 68 while I went to Vietnam, it still kept going because I turned it over to one of my senior black belts to keep the school and name going until I got back from Vietnam. Now back to the beginning. David Hofstadler was about 6 years old when he started with my Roberts Karate at Fort Belvoir, right outside of Fort Belvoir. And we'll come back to that later. I was born in the district called Kalihi. It was kind of a rough district to grow up in. Born May 26, 1933. There were 4 of us brothers, and we were all born in the same house, and we were all born through midwives. In those days, nobody went to the hospital to give birth. We all gave birth. Most of the mothers gave birth at home. Everybody was pretty poor, so most of them used the midwives at that time. And when I was born, my name was James Kalewahano. So within about several weeks, I was adopted, or what the Hawaiians call Hanai, by the Roberts family, Henry and Mary Roberts. They were from the Waikani area of Oahu. They had a lot of land ownership back in that area, and they were the ones that adopted me. That's why my name became James K. Roberts, and I carried that name through almost half of my life, and I decided to change it back to my original name when I moved back to Hawaii. But anyway, I was a very excuse me, young baby when I was hanai'd out to what so was my adopted mother, and she raised me from the very beginning. I can recollect as a very little young infant that I was also raised on a ranch, and come to find out it was called Kualoa Ranch, and it's a famous ranch now. But in those days, it was a cattle ranch where horses and cattle were raised. And I remember those days, all the cowboys, we called them paniolos, they used to come to the house and eat breakfast in the morning with their big coffee cups and crackers and butter and bacon and eggs, and they would eat there in our house and then go right across to the ranch and go to work. I remember those days as a very young infant, and we lived there for a while, and it was a beautiful area. We lived off the land quite a bit because resources were very abundant at that time, especially from the sea, from the ocean. And as people, ocean people, we ate a lot from the sea. And also, of course, we had the cattle from the ranch. And then just before we moved to another area called Liliha when I was about probably 4 years old, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe in 1937, I guess. We moved, I'm guessing we moved from Kualoa to this area called Liliha, which was pretty closer to town, It was a pretty nice area. It was a small district. There was a lot of different variety of nationalities that lived on that lane, but we were the only Hawaiians on that lane. There were lots of Japanese, there were Chinese, Filipinos, Puerto Ricans, all the different Oriental nationalities. But like I said, we were the only Hawaiians on that lane that lived on that lane. Then, of course, at about the same time we moved there, my younger brother, which I didn't know I had, moved in with us, and come to find out that he was one of my brothers that I didn't know we had. And of course, also that is the time that World War II came into play. But before that, of course, there were kindergarten times, and I went to kindergarten there in that district. Then I went to elementary school until 1941 when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Then, of course, the state became under martial law by the military. I remember that day distinctly because we thought, me, my family, my kids, brothers, and all, we thought they were doing a little maneuvers, because in those days there were a lot of military action going on at that time, and we just didn't pay attention to it. We thought it was just United States doing their maneuvering, etc., etc. Until come to find out, we start hearing all these loud explosions, and then of course my neighbor's house right at the corner, one of the Japanese dropped a bomb on it and blew his house up. And we figured something was wrong with it. Our parents started yelling at us to get in the house. And one block above our street, where we lived, called Judge Street, there was a family going to church in a car, and the Japanese plane came down and strafed them and killed every one of them. So within that district where I live, called Liliha, there were a lot of action on things that happened there during World War II. And of course, eventually where we lived, the exact street lane that I lived on, that area became a military installation for any aircraft. And the Army just took over that whole area, which consisted of maybe 10 square miles or something, quite a bit of land that they could build any aircraft installation. And then, of course, we lived under that law for about 4 years. And we learned a lot I did, of course, as a kid. When you were old enough, you were drafted. Even if you were in high school, you were of age, you were gone. The next day, you were drafted immediately. My uncle, my older brothers, foster brothers, they were gone into the military. So we didn't see them till after the war, but it was hard times. We had to abide by the military and the law, and everything at that time was rationed. Food was rationed, fuel was rationed, milk, everything. The times were hard. I made some extra money by shining shoes, doing some errands for the military people, because they were in a barbed wire enclosure. They couldn't come out. So they'd pass us the notes through the barbed wire, and we'd pick up the notes, get their money, go to the store and get what they want, come back, give it to them, and they would tip us. So that's one way of making money, selling newspapers, polishing shoes, whatever it takes, collecting aluminum from cigarette packs, you're making aluminum balls to sell. We figured ways how to make extra money. In those days also, everything was limited. Toys were limited. Everything went towards the efforts of the war. In fact, in my childhood life, I think I can remember getting a pair of pistols for a toy, and I think the whole family had train set one year. Other than that, we didn't get any toys. With no toys for Christmas. So what we got for Christmas was things that we needed, like clothes, shorts, t-shirts, stuff like that, undershirts, underpants, things that we need, not things that we want. You know, we can get a lot of things that we want, but we really need the stuff that we need. That's what we got. So nowadays, everybody is spoiled with everything that we have now. But anyway, I'm going to take a little break right now. Okay, we'll just continue on from World War II. Yeah, we tried to make as much or make money as any way that we could. Also, those were the years when, like I said, everything was rationed. We were issued all gas masks. And even the kids, when I was small, I was issued mine when I was 8 years old in I think it was January 1942. You got issued an ID card, and you have to carry that wherever you go. If you don't have it, they'll lock you up in jail. You have your ID card, your gas mask, and shots. And you got to show all that to the MP if they ask you for it. And all your shot records is right there. And I had all that when I was 8 years old. And I was going to elementary school at that time. It was called Lanakila. And by the way, that's the name of one of my granddaughters. Lanakila means victory in Hawaiian. But I went to that school, and we used to practice a lot of air raid bomb shelter practices. We'd run out of the classroom and go into all the bomb shelters that were made on the school ground, and we'd sit in the bomb shelters, till the practice was over. Then we'd go back into the school. So it was, everything was kind of regimented for us. We were told, kind of were told what to do. You had to under those circumstances. Every night there was a curfew. You couldn't be out on the street. I think it was after, I'm not sure, but I think it was after 10 o'clock. We had to paint all of our windows, doors, everything had to be painted black. If the MPs or something saw any light, they'd shoot your lights out. Literally. But so everything had to be painted. In our area, when they would practicing their anti-aircraft firing, they had to let us know because it would shake all the houses and all the dishes would fall off and fall on the floor and break. So they'd come and tell us we're going to practice, so we'd either tape it or tape the doors or something to keep it from falling. So we lived under those circumstances for about 4 years. That was hardship, but everything was cheap. The movies those days were like 9 cents. Everything was very, very, of course, reasonable because nobody had money. And in our neighborhood, we didn't know we were all poor because we're all the same. Everybody was poor, but we didn't know it. That's the one good thing about it. Nobody harassed anybody. Nobody talked down to anybody. Everybody was the same. We helped each other. Everybody helped each other. Nobody mentioned about, oh, you're a poor guy, or I'm a poor guy, you're a poor guy. Nobody mentioned anything about that. We just lived from day to day and went on with our lives. And of course, it was a very hard time in Hawaii because of the many people that we lost in World War II also. And all the Japanese that were drafted, and also those who were put in intern camps. That were supposedly spies, but they weren't. It was just because they were Japanese they were put in camps. And then finally World War II was over, and then we moved to another area called Kapahulu. And we moved there, I think it was 1945, right after the war. World War II ended, I believe it was September 1945. And right after that we moved to Kapahulu. I was new in that district, new in that area. First day on the job at Pineapple Fields, I was working for the pineapple company at that time as a pineapple picker. You hear that slang, a pineapple picker. Well, I was one. We'd work in the hot sun for 50 cents an hour and $4 a day. I don't think you can get anybody to do that anymore. But anyway, the first day at work, lunchtime, I'm eating my lunch and I'm finished. I'm swinging on a branch on a tree, just relaxing, and it falls down. I fell on this guy and told him I was sorry and all that. He didn't buy it. He wanted to fight. I said, I'm sorry about it. So I didn't want to fight, because I was new in that area. He wanted to fight. I said, okay, I'll take you up. And instead of that, he called about 3 or 4 other guys, and they all worked me over. But that's all right. So I rode home in the cab of the truck. When I got home, my cousin Newton, we call him Nose, because he had a nose. But we didn't know. I didn't know anyway, because I was new. He was a judo champ of the island, and his brother was a boxing champ of the island, which I didn't know. So when I came home, my cousin looked at me and said, what happened? I was all bruised up. So I told him what happened. He said, okay, come with me next day. So he was like the bull of the school. That was high school. The high school and the intermediate went to school together. The intermediate went in the morning because there was only one school there in that area. The intermediate went in the morning, the high school went in the afternoon. So he was in high school, he come in the afternoon, so we told me, come here. So he had all those guys come in one of the bathrooms. And they didn't know that he was my cousin. And when they heard that, boy, they were begging for mercy. And of course, my cousin didn't hit him. He said, look, if you guys ever touch my cousin again, we'll break all your arms. But he was a judo champ, so he said, you can do it very easily in judo. And they said they'll promise to never do it again. And I had a pretty good life after that, because everybody knew I was Nose's cousin. So after that, I was pretty good. And of course, I went to high school, learned how to drive a truck with no license. The truck had no brakes. It was, we call it a banana wagon, which was a station wagon at those days. And we'd drive it around the school ground. And the handbrake was the brakes. And I learned how to drive with that. In fact, when I went down to take my driver's license, nobody taught me how to drive. I taught myself how to drive. And when I did go down to get my driver's license, I got it. Passed the driver's test, everything. Well, I learned that. Learned how to drive by myself. And of course, Kamiki was known to be a gambling school. I ran all the gambling that gone on in that school. That's how I got the name Ace, for some of you that don't know it. Anyway, we'll take another break. Thanks. Okay. I was still in high school, and in 1947, I think I was 12 or something. I think that's the first indication of any type of martial arts that I might be interested in. They had a boxing club in Kamuki Park. It was in somebody's basement. So I went down there and did a little bit of that boxing. I didn't like it too much when I got popped in the head by the coach. And then I tried judo with the famous Henry Okazaki. He's a real famous judo instructor in the islands. Everybody well known under him. Henry Okazaki. That was all in 47. And I think I was 43. I was 14. Yeah. That's when my first interest. But then I wasn't really interested then after that in the martial arts or any type of self-defense. So going back to high school again. Then 1950 came around, and of course the Korean War broke out. Nobody heard of Korea, 1950. But we heard about it because some of our high school students the year before already got killed over there in Korea. And this was in June, and the war started in June. June 25th is when the war started. And by the time we came back to the islands, that the Korean War, etc., people from our school were already killed. So there was a bunch of us that said, "Oh, let's volunteer and we go over there and we're going to kill all them guys over there because we're, gung-ho. We were 17, 18, 19, nothing can happen to us. So we all joined. I finished my 11th grade. I graduated from 11th grade, so at least I did that. And there was 47 of us that all volunteered to go to take our basic and all go to Korea. We were known as the first All Hawaii platoon of volunteers for the Korean War. And that was our title. After that, everybody came after us with secondary. But we were the first All Hawaii platoon. And when we arrived at Schofield, first of all, we took the test at Ala Moana. And I scored the highest in what was called Morse code. They don't do that now. They don't do Morse code now. But anyway, I had the highest test in Morse code. So the instructor asked me if he can save me from going to Korea because he can send me to Fort Mammoth, New Jersey, and go to the Signal Corps school, and I wouldn't have to go to Korea. He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, No, I want to stay with my buddies. He said, "Are you stupid? You're going to go to Korea?" I said, "Yeah, I want to stay with my buddies." So I stayed with them, and we took all infantry basic, all strictly infantry, no advance, no AIT, no nothing, strictly infantry. Then we took our leave, 30-day leave, went home, said all goodbyes, and then we were on our way to Korea. And I think I'll pick up next, the next interview of Carry On. Okay.